to you from Hampden Park for the 1986 Star Cup Final, and this live coverage of yet another Old Firm Cup Final. Hampden Park itself alive as always with that unique Cup Final atmosphere, a sellout crowd of almost 75,000 and probably as many as 10, 15, maybe even 20,000 of you watching us from home who couldn't get tickets for today's match. This could easily have been the first 100,000 attendance in Scotland for many, many years. But Hampden Park these days holds just over 74,000, and all of these Rangers fans there and their Celtic counterparts at the other end looking forward to what is bound to be a marvellous final, which will of course be played to a finish. No draws, no replays, there will be extra time and if necessary penalties to decide not only the Skol Cup but the League Cup for 1986. The team news immediately is that Graham Souness will not play for Rangers. Cammy Fraser is in his place. Ted McMinn plays from the start, and for Celtic, in the absence of Tommy Burns, Murdo MacLeod plays as expected at number 3, with Mark McGee fit again in for Celtic. So there, the scene here at Hampden as we look forward to the final. The Silver Shadows marching band out there entertaining the crowds. The pre-match entertainment really has been marvellous. The crowds have listened to the league, they've come along early and they've enjoyed all the entertainments, and we're now not all that far away from the kick-off itself. Now with me to look at the match and to look back on the incidents is the Aston Villa and Scotland striker Andy Gray. We'll be hearing from Andy a little bit later on. But back inside Hampden, high above the pitch in the commentary position, is Archie McPherson, who has with him today the Dundee United manager, Jim McLean.
Thank you very much, Dugan. I think looking at that caravan, that's a handy place to be this afternoon, because it's turned very chilly indeed, and there is a very strong wind blowing left to right as you look at the picture. And we're not only competing with that, but with this very attractive and noisy band right in front of us, and I hope Jim McLean can hear exactly what I'm saying now. Jim, immediately I've got to ask you about the changes in team. Well, Tommy Burns is not playing for Celtic, of course. David McPherson is suspended, and now Graham Souness is unfit to play. Which of the two sides on the face of it would seem to be most handicapped?
Well, I think Rangers are taking the biggest gamble here today, because most certainly they would like Ted McMinn and Cammy Fraser to be in much more match fit condition than they are. I think also Celtic would be the same with Mark McGee. I think it's a blow for Rangers to lose McPherson and Souness, but I'm sure it's equally a blow for Tommy Burns to be out of the Celtic team.
Well, it is interesting too that just before we came to live transmission, the Celtic team's up on the screen at the moment, and I'll get to what I was about to say in just a second once we have a look at that team. And that team, in fact, is the one which finished against Dynamo Kiev. So that, there was some talk about bringing Danny McGrain back, but they've decided against that, and Murdo MacLeod, Jim at left back, which he's accustomed to playing in anyway.
Well, I think that Davy Hay is remembering the last game when Ted McMinn played exceptionally well at Ibrox, and Rangers won 1-0. So I think that they must have been thinking a wee bit along the lines of Ted McMinn and Davy Cooper, and needing to stop both of them.
And of course you'll be getting a view of a young player who's come on enormously in the past 5 or 6 weeks, last couple of months, Tony Shipp at number 10, now at the Rangers end. And we'll have a look at the Rangers team. Now, as I was about to say, it was astonishing to see Fraser being given almost a fitness test. He was out with Walter Smith, the Rangers assistant manager, and he was looking very carefully at the way that Cammy was stretching and so on. Now, we know that McMinn, back from injury, is not totally fit either. So, in a sense, Rangers have two players there that ideally would not be playing this game from the start.
Well, that's obvious. I think that Rangers most certainly would have been far happier if Cammy Fraser and Ted McMinn had played a lot more often in recent weeks than they have. But I think also Mark McGee has been out through injury, so I would say that Rangers are more handicapped and have taken probably more of a gamble, but they've got two substitutes on the bench, very capable.
Well, substitutions I think will also be very important in this game, because as Dougie said right at the start, it's played to its bitter end, if I could put it that way. It goes into extra time or to penalties, and frankly, I'm sure you'd agree with me, Jim, we don't want a game at Hampden Park finishing in penalty kicks. It's bad enough at any time.
Well, one of the reasons I think that cup finals should definitely at least have one replay is that in football we need all the money we can generate into the game, and I think that it's the one game that it's ludicrous to think that we can't afford to have a replay in a cup final. Just think of the money that is coming into the game from today, the gate receipts and television and so on, and without doubt, if we need to cut down in fixtures, it most certainly isn't in the cup finals. At least one replay should be played.
Well, I'm sure these supporters out there would heartily endorse that, and you know, I never tire of seeing that sight at Hampden Park at both ends. The colours up, the Celtic supporters massed there, and away down at the other side, the Rangers supporters. All a splendidly stirring sight. And although Hampden Park is vastly altered to the first time I came here, either to watch a game on the terracings or to do a broadcast, it still tingles the emotions when you're sitting amidst a large crowd like this, and they really are packed in very, very tightly in there. I can assure all my friends, or some newly discovered friends, that I honestly didn't have many tickets for this game, and phone's been going on and off over the past a month to find out if I get people tickets for it. There's been a huge demand, and the limitation, of course, of 74,000 set by the authorities on it. Whatever the case, the enthusiasm of both sets of supporters is quite undiminished. Having been around in a few places, I can tell you, I think without fear of contradiction, that they are the most loyal and vociferous supporters in the world, and they certainly make their impression on a game. Very little to choose between them if you are in a contest about how they can inspire the side. Rangers and Celtic players, to that extent, are always advantaged, and I've got a man sitting beside me who's got the rough end of that in many instances, even at Tannadice. I mean, Jim, if you had a support like 20,000, 30,000 falling out, with no disrespect to your own very loyal band of supporters, it does make a difference, doesn't it?
I think that people outside the game don't realise the difference that it does make, especially when you're away from home. I think that when we're at Tannadice, then obviously our results are very good, and they're only good in my opinion because of the amount of supporters we have there. But I think that when we travel 90 minutes to most of our games, at least 90 minutes to most of our games in the West, it's very, very difficult and financially impossible for some of the supporters to travel.
Right, now, I'm not going to ask you for a straightforward prediction, but there are obviously key areas or very important elements in this game, and I want to talk firstly about the men up front, who are very important. And you were suggesting to me before we came up here that Celtic simply have more goal scorers than Rangers, out-and-out goal scorers.
Yes, well, I think that even with now Brian McClair obviously I think going to be playing in midfield, that to me gives them four players who can all take half chances, and in particular obviously they've got Maurice Johnson. I think Rangers most certainly don't have anything like the amount of goal scorers in their team that Celtic have, but I also think that the back four of Rangers is a bit more experienced than the Celtic one for obvious reasons.
But they'll miss David McPherson's height, won't they, today? I mean, Ali Dawson's in, but he's certainly not the same kind of player as McPherson.
I think that's a blow, but Ali Dawson has experienced cup finals, and one I remember when he picked up the Scottish Cup and we were the opposition. But I think that in the Celtic team, for instance, their back four is completely untried as playing together as a unit.
And out they come, led by David Syme, Graham Souness, David Hay, the two captains, and Hampden rises to them. The fanfare by the sponsors, trumpeters, in this very meticulously arranged pre-match ritual of which Roy Aitken is highly accustomed. He is an inspirational character on a day like this. Now, David Hay is one of the most unflappable characters in the business. I mean, he was a very, very hard player, David. I'm sure a lot of people, many of his opponents would tell you about that. Hard but fair. As a manager, he's very, very subdued, almost laid back, and so, by the way, is Souness. Nothing seems to ruffle the pair of them. Although if they're human beings, I would think their insides are churning right at this moment. Ian Galletti, the president of the league, going down the line with Terry Butcher. The two chairmen of the clubs are there as well. John Payton and Jack McGinn, the newly appointed chairman of Celtic, with John Mackenzie of Alla Brewery Company, who are the sponsors of this event. And Jim Farry of the Scottish League, who's been right at the hub of all the organisation, and it takes an enormous organisation to get everything quite right. Now, the Celtic players. Well, they don't seem put out at all by this atmosphere. Mark McGee, of course, has got enormous experience. He has a European medal on his cabinet. That's an exceptional case for the players out there today. There he is, Mark McGee. I remember being in Hamburg the night, and I beg your pardon, in Gothenburg. He went to Hamburg eventually when he won that Cup Winners' Cup for Aberdeen. And off the players go to their respective ends. Now, Ali McInally, the man they call Rambo at Parkhead, he's suddenly burst his way through the Celtic ranks. He was used more as a kind of super sub all last season. Now he's settled into that team and played remarkably well against a very tough Dynamo Kiev defence on Wednesday night, who did not like the way he charged at them. Cammy Fraser. Now there must be a definite question mark against this man's fitness. The last time I saw him was at Tynecastle in that drawn game with Hearts. He went off after about 5 minutes or so with a hamstring injury, and it's bothered him ever since. And he was getting what I took to be a fitness test about 2 o'clock, 2:15. That's how late a decision it's been for Rangers. Referee David Syme. I asked Davey about half an hour ago if he ever felt nervous. He said no. He said the only time I feel nervous is perhaps before an evening game for some reason. His 11th Old Firm game, his 3rd cup final, and he loves it. Butcher has won the toss. I would read that, and I think Rangers will stay where they are. Butcher will be a key man for Rangers today, Jim, with all that experience of his.
Oh, playing in the World Cup and the experiences had down in England, obviously, I think it'll be very important for Rangers, especially in the early stages of the game. But I think, honestly, this is a new scene for him, although he's played in, I think, one Old Firm game before today. A cup final has that wee bit extra.
It surely is. Mark McGee and Mo Johnson. That's not a bad forward structure for Celtic, with these two combining. I wouldn't say that Mark McGee himself will be as sharp as he would have expected, because he's only had that kind of half game back for Celtic. And there's Jimmy Nicholl, who's been one of Rangers' best players in the last month. The Coist, free kick, tackled there by young Derek White, who's now playing in the centre of defence for Celtic, starting off his left back. Bono taking his time about this, getting his players forward. Nicholl. Durant. There's Grant. Aiken. Off Monroe, and Butcher is there. Butcher following Mark McGee. Free kick to Celtic. For McStay. Knows Hampden Park very well. Remember a dramatic equaliser he had against Aberdeen in the Scottish Cup final, taken again to extra time. Nice curl in that. Off Butcher's shield. Now McMinn. Here's Fraser. No, it's Ferguson rather, number 7. That was Fraser. Now Nicholl. On to McMinn. And White. Incisive tackle on McMinn. That's his first tackle, and I can't remember in the last game if he had a successful tackle against McMinn at all. Cooper. Cooper with his right foot, you see, it doesn't work as effectively as the left. McInally, the ball still in play though. What good play by McStay. Offside. Mo Johnston by about a couple of yards. A nice brisk start to this game though. Rangers with the advantage of the wind. That was neatly touched round there by McMinn. Monroe. Grant. Bottom McLeod. McInally, there's McStay, curls it beautifully. Shepherd. Rifles it in there. Chris Woods. That should do him a power of good, getting an awkward ball like that early in the game. Young Tony Shepherd, as I said, has been having an excellent month for Celtic. Rangers goalkeeper really tested. McGee fouled, free kick. Way by Nicholl. White. There's Brian McClare lying in that deep position, of course. Little bit too much in it. No, McClare gets it. There's McClare, Butcher. McStay. Nicely played by Ferguson to Fraser. To McCoist. Meant for Cooper, and Grant picks it up. Good run by Grant. Referee rightly waving play on. Now McInally. Butcher beautifully tackles McInally. Cooper. Ferguson, the run forward there by McMinn. Away goes McMinn. And I think the free kick to Rangers, yes. Real struggle between the pair of them that time. McMinn, who had such a brilliant game for Rangers the last time the pair met.
He's most certainly got a different role today, but he's playing through the middle with Alan McCoist. And Rangers are playing their usual 4-4-2 and Celtic their usual 4-3-3. But Ted McMinn is playing through the middle with Alan McCoist. The last game he definitely played outside right.
Well, that was Terry Butcher getting up, and I think getting assist from the defender. Yes, it's a free kick. Now, Fraser. McLeod. McStay. Nice reverse pass by McStay. And that should go back by Nicholl. Rangers, though, looking a little bit frayed there down the middle. Fraser. McCoy. Free kick, yes. White hammering in from the back.
I'll stick my neck right on the chopping block and say at this minute that I think Celtic have most certainly started better than Rangers. They're getting plenty of players forward, as you expect with the system they're playing.
Free kick to Rangers. Fraser, Nicol on the run. A little bit too obvious that. In goes Durant. There's Fraser, Durant. Little bit slow, cumbersome. Now Johnston. McInally. Grant. There's McInally, he's looking very good. Now McStay. Huge space there, McClare. Was a dangerous one and brilliantly saved. Really good goalkeeping twice by Woods. Desperately awkward ball for a goalkeeper to take. Slightly masking his view of the two players in front. Here's Cooper. Wanting to move into midfield, it's Cooper. Free kick. And Roy Aitken instantly apologising. Cooper didn't like that one little bit. And certainly it was a vital tackle for Celtic. Cooper was shaping up very well. And I think Cooper himself may take this. Or Fraser. Fraser with a long one and it's a post. Really brilliantly struck ball there by Fraser. Thundering it in. Almost deceiving Bonner. I think he might just have got a slight touch of that, Jim.
I think he did touch it, but it was a magnificent strike from Cammy Fraser. He is a tremendous striker of the ball from outside the box.
And showing how potent he can be in that area.
Rangers look to have changed their tactics very slightly with Ted McMinn now sitting wide on the right here. I think they've been a wee bit worried about the amount of play Murdo McLeod is starting down the left-hand side.
And White puts it very coolly back. Aitken wants to come forward. Fraser totally missing that. Now Ferguson. McMinn. There's McMinn. There he is, McMinn, I think, in a very good position, and the whistle has blown for that tackle.
It was a wee bit unfortunate there, the referee was facing the wrong way because it was more of an advantage for that move to continue. That was for Rangers, but
Fraser taking that free kick. There is Butcher up. Ali McCoy. He couldn't find any poise in that shot.
Celtic were ridiculous there, very slow in picking up, and Butcher was completely free, and also as his header came across the box, Ali McCoy was left with a tremendous chance. And
these are the chances that really should be put away in a cup final. Durant, Cooper. Oh, nice play there by Ferguson and whatnot. Cooper. Oh yes, a booking for that. Yes, referee will book Roy Aitken for that. And is getting a bit testy. The referee, David Syme, by the way, as we watch this foul, told me that he really likes to exert his authority immediately and feel the temperature of the game, whether the players respond to him or not. And I think somebody may be booked for talking back. And that is twice that Davy Cooper's had some rough treatment. At the end of it is a free kick. Swept away by McAnally. Johnston, Celtic attacking. Big numbers. Johnston, and that neatly picked up by Davy Cooper of all people. And there'll be a booking. There's a booking for McAnally for that challenge.
Well, I would hope this game doesn't get out of hand, because I think that on view today you've more of the best players in Scotland right at this moment, and I think it could be a tremendous advert for football. But at the moment the referees find it tough to settle the players down.
Long one by Butcher, should go to White, and does. McAnally, Johnston. Long legs of Butcher again. Fraser lying very deep. Run by Durant. Beautiful ball. And Rangers get the corner. And Rangers seem to have picked up, Jim, from that initial statement that you made, and in terms of the tactical change.
They're definitely playing two wingers now, and Ian Durant is playing just off Ali McCoy's, and it's curbing the moves from McLeod at left back for Celtic. I think they were dictating the game there.
That's Nickman with a corner. Monroe should get that to Cooper.